back to Sucker Punch Oakland. Fuck, I fucked it up. All right, welcome back to Sucker Punch Oakland. Tonight we're talking to Chuck. Chuck, how did you get into bouncing?
Okay, so I'm now 56, so I'm going to go back in the wave back. When I was 16 years old, a guy named Harry Liris was a guard at what's the big prison on the water?
San Quentin.
San Quentin, and he would do a youth program for under 18 dance club. He was a big 80s new wave guy, and he would use it as like a youth center thing. And so he'd rent this place on Walnut Creek, and I was 16 at the time, and I was his door guy for the thing. So it's like the first time ever.
So you were door guying an underage club as an underage.
As an underage,
yes. Bouncer at an underage club.
But I was 6'2" when I was 16, so it was like kind of like, it's just like, okay, well, he's a guy, and it was great because there was tons of chicks and but we mostly just to keep alcohol, mostly just to make sure nobody was drinking.
Yeah, but I'm sure they were trying to sneak drinks in.
Oh yeah, it was like we just walk around and check on everybody and make sure everybody, people are dancing, having a good time, and just checking the bathrooms and checking things. It was really more. I've never done anything that required less effort in my life.
But did people drink around the corner and cause problems and get drunk, or were they cool?
They were pretty cool most of the time. I mean, every once in a while, and then you get some undesirables, some jocks or something like that would come from like out of Walnut Creek, and they come out there and start some trouble in the parking lot. We had a couple fights in the parking lot, but nothing. That was a pretty easy run as far as I went. And
were the other door guys also underage?
Yeah, all of us. The only person that was an adult there was this prison guard. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It was called Primary Walnut Creek. Yeah, it was.
Wow, Primary Walnut Creek.
Yeah, 1980s, 1980. Oh shit! If you want to go back, that's 1981.
And it was a disco dance club?
No, it was like full, the most like modern, like Depeche Mode.
Oh, okay, cool.
Stuff like that, like really, like the top of the line of like, not what's called.
Mod or.
No, there was some people would come there. Something was very open to many different people, but you hear the specials and you hear and there'd be a lot of some Soundgarden. But it would mix in. Yeah, it was good. It was a fun.
You always wondered the motivation of the guys running the underage club. You think he was doing anything shady?
Honestly, all the years I've known the guy, and I still see him. I talk to him online. He really gave crap.
Yeah,
it was just one of those.
Okay,
rare.
My head always goes the fuck
Everyone's bad. That's why I was like, okay, yeah, all right. So they're all underage, everybody. Yeah. He was an interesting cat, man. And then you go back to work at Quentin, which is always weird, And I think he thought that if he could influence people at our age, that we would not end up in Quentin. I think maybe that was his motivation. So then, I get older. I'm getting in my 20s, and I met this band called The Rise. And I would haul their gear into nightclubs. And then the guy taught me how to tune a guitar, bass guitar, and then I would tour with them. And so I never couldn't get a real gig.
Okay.
Couldn't get a job that mattered. Right?
Yeah.
And my family was pretty broken up. I had my mother's on her third divorce, and I was living on and off out of people's back bedrooms and lived in the Tenderloin for a little while in this one-bedroom apartment with like 3 other people that were door bouncers. It was very exciting.
Back when the Tenderloin was like super seedy.
It was the worst. So we're touring, and I'm like, we're on the road for a month, and I come back. So I got a job at City Nights, which is on Harrison.
I remember that club.
Yep, City Nights.
Yeah.
But that
was an underage club too, right?
No, that was City Nights you could be 18 and 21. So one of our main jobs was making sure that people without stamps weren't drinking.
I remember because when it was underage, when it was like 18 and over basically.
Yeah.
But we couldn't drink. We used to come down from San Jose to go to City Nights.
Yeah. And right. Club X, which was that.
Club X, yeah.
Club X around the corner, and Trocadero. So that was the same management ran those 3 clubs. And so I would go between those 3 clubs on the weekends. I'd be the doorman at the Trocadero, which would have Bon Chigogo.
Okay, yeah.
And then they do that one there, and those were that was just a lot of dragging drunk people out in the street. There were a lot of the place had a lot more action than most nightclubs in San Francisco.
And our
Yes.
friend who should be named, he worked at that club too, right?
I worked at
Trocadero, so did it was
Really
like,
quite a few.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of you guys worked at Trocadero, right?
Yeah.
But
So
that
what's
was
the craziest fight you saw at Trocadero? Or any of those?
At Trocadero, I had a guy, he was talking to a girl, and she didn't want to talk to him, so she turned her back to him, and he spit on her back. And there was like 3 of us standing right there, and I'm like, fucking get that fucking guy, get him out right now. And like, they fucking grabbed him, and we grabbed him, and we're dragging him down to there's like we were like an upstairs area, and we went down the stairs and toward the door, and as I pushed him out the door, he turned around and pepper sprayed all 3 of us right in the face.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, he didn't get back in the club, and then he was one of those idiots. Because then we leaned in on him a little bit, and there are the 2 types of people at a bar fight. There's people who get in a bar fight and then bugger off. You get outside, get in your car, and leave. You're done. You don't go back to that club for at least 2 weeks.
That's my favorite guy, right? He
Yeah,
knocks
that's
somebody out of the club,
Yeah,
just
just-
bam, and then he walks
Yeah,
out. You're
yeah.
like, what happened to that guy? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it just disappeared.
I don't even know what he looks like.
And there's always somebody that I was hoping would get, like, I was like, we're gonna have to throw this guy out.
Yeah.
This guy's we're gonna have to throw him out. And then somebody knocks him out, and I'm like, that guy, and then he leaves, and you're like, all right,
right.
no harm, no foul.
The worst one, I think, and I'll go back to that club thing, but the worst like ejection I've ever seen from the club is there was a private like bondage club down there. What was the hell the name of it? Power Exchange.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is when they're back in the old small warehouse.
You worked at the Power Exchange?
Yeah, so the guy who ran it, he asked me to watch the door because they're having some private parties, right?
Yeah.
So I'm checking the door because they were having some private parties and there were a bunch of people in there. This guy starts having a freak out in there, and I can't remember that guy's name that ran that club, a big muscle-bound dude. And the guy owns the guy, he shoves him, and the guy grabs him and grabs his hand and tries to get his thumb in his mouth. And he's trying to bite him. The guy's the manager of the place, right?
Yeah.
The guy's the manager of the place gets into his pocket, takes out a can of pepper spray, shoves it in his mouth, and unloads it. And then when the guy bends over, he kicks him in the ribs. And like this guy collapses to the ground, sucking pepper spray into his thumb. And then the cops come in 5 minutes because this guy's friends called the cops, and the cops come. They're like, dude, you're going to prison to like the owner. And he's like, dude, the guy was trying to bite my thumb off. He goes, and he saw the little teeth marks. He goes, ooh, take off the limb. He goes, oh, you're good.
Yeah.
We're gonna arrest this guy.
Oh,
He was
man.
laying on the ground coughing up orange stuff.
Oh, the good old days. Man. The good old
Good
days.
San Francisco. Yeah, that was down on there with Bryant. Was
So,
it Bryant?
Yeah. So what are the 2 types of people that get into bar fights? You said one
Oh,
lets
yeah.
somebody out and leaves.
One
and then-
leaves, and the other one walks out the front door and taunts the bouncers.
Yeah,
the club,
yes, oh,
yelling and
yes.
screaming in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And then, I'm going to do this. And they won't leave, and you're standing out there with like 6 guys, and you're like, it's like guys like him and me and
Yeah.
you. Like,
And they call us every name in
oh
the
yeah,
book.
my mother this, my mother that. My poor mother is at so many things. It's painful.
If she could only see it.
How many times my mother have been told.
Now, why are they cussing me out? They're not even there.
Oh man.
But yeah, but that is the classic.
Such a classic dumb shit thing to do. And so all right, so there were we at. Now we're doing those things, and then
Any other good fights at the other clubs there?
it was mostly just breaking up other people's fights, like the people getting into it in the bar. You just grab them, and I worked with these 2 Samoan guys. One guy Aki and another guy Paki, and they're 2 brothers. And that one guy Aki could probably lift a semi with one arm, not even thinking about it. The guy was 320, no fat.
Oh.
Yeah, and but he also shouldn't drink. And I was scared to death of him. And so you don't want to be afraid of the guy who's the bouncer, right, that you're working with. And he'd had a couple cocktails one night, and he was sitting at the door, and he was kind of like, oh shit, fucking.
Well, he's stewing.
He's stewing, and this guy walks up. He goes, and he had a piece of candy in his hand. And there was a girl and this guy, and the girl. He goes, do you want some candy? And hands it to the girl, and the girl just takes it and like palms it off to the guy. And he comes up and goes, that's my candy! And like just knocked him, and I think he almost came out of his shoes. I've never seen And then we're having like people at work there like, holy crap. And so, oh, that leaves me, oh good, it's just like, so like, holy crap, we had to hide him because the cops came, we had to make him get in a car, like drive around the corner. So it's like a month later. All right, this is probably for that era, we're talking early 90s now. For this era, this is my best one.
All right.
So I go upstairs in the back of City Nights, and it's that big open dance floor. And I go upstairs in the back corner up there, and there's a guy, and he's got his girlfriend against the wall with all of his might with it on her neck, right? And I come up like, hey, yelling, trying to get him to, and he's just like grabbing her, and I can see her feet are coming off the ground. So he's pushing her up, and I pull cued him in the ribs with a 4 D-cell mag light.
Yeah.
Gave him a full go in the ribs with it. And he turned around and he grabbed that flashlight and yanked it out of my hand. And he hit me so hard in the face, I couldn't believe it. And I hit the ground, I got back up, and just as I was getting back up, I was going right back at him. And I got him on his arm. He was shaking, and I grabbed the flashlight off the ground. It was like between all rolling around and everything like that. I had like an arm around his neck, and I had one of his arms pulled back, and I'm just holding him back, waiting for someone else to show up. And then finally, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, dude, quit it, stop, and he just, whoa, and he like, and he was, my feet were off the ground, and I'm like 280, 280 pounds. No, he was a big dude, big Islander, and but the other guy showed up, we dragged him outside, but that was my best era at the time at City Nights era. I left from there and went to Bottom of the Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, worked at Bottom Hill for many years. Guido, the doorman, the hot rod guy, and all that. He's still there now. The original owner, I think he just recently sold it to, the girl was the bartender there for years. Never really had, I don't think, other than nights where they had Beastie Boys performed there once without telling anybody, like just trying to control the freak out in the street. Was it, and then
Word got out on the secret show,
stuff like that. But then
God, that couldn't exist now. There wouldn't be a secret show. That's
No, and I was doing that club, and I was doing Toontown over at the not the Trocadero, it's on 3rd Street where it's now the baseball field is. It's
I remember hearing about that.
It was a big nightclub there. They used to have a Saturday night. It was called Toontown. It was at it's the name of the street. I sneeze and I forget my high school friends' names. I also got punched in the face quite a few times. I think I broke my nose. I think it was 3 officially times over the whole time that I did it. And just because I'm kind of a bit of a galoot when it comes to like I don't really read people 100% well. So as a bouncer, you really should be better at that. That should be like your first qualification.
I don't lie.
I mean, I got really good at I had my own personal how to deal with somebody who was in my face, because I always had the opinion that if I couldn't see your feet, looking you in the eyes. If I couldn't see your feet at the same time, you were way too close to me.
Yeah.
That was always my you stay that far away from me and I'm fine. And I would always do a thing if I knew we were going down, I'd put my hands up and go, I can't be doing this. And I just make a fist come down and go. So,
Nice.
And then we get the person. I always wanted to just get the person out. But so Bottom of the Hill was pretty thing. But that Trocadero had a lot of gunshots in the street where we'd have to roll the doors down.
That was a gnarly club. That was a gnarly club. Back in the day, these clubs, Trocaderas, City Nights, these were classic clubs in the Bay Area where people came around from Richmond, we came down from San Jose, from the Valley to come down. San Francisco was the place where everybody came to clubs. So these were clubs that were known that everybody, not just in San Francisco came to, but everybody from all the surrounding areas. So you always had people from Richmond would show up at the same time. You got guys from East Palo Alto would show up. And this is where the problems would be, right? Because you got guys from East Palo Alto, you got hardcore Sons of Samoan, hardcore Crips, and then you go out to Richmond or Sacramento, and now you've got the Bloods and the Pirus start to show up, right? So that creates a problem. But these were big clubs back in the day, and there weren't that many clubs.
What do you think the Trocadero was like?
Trocadero? I mean, I don't know.
10,000.
10,000 square feet, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Giant.
And then, you know,
Giant clubs.
Hundreds and hundreds of people.
Just,
Yeah.
so my second philosophy of people is that men go to bars to be with women.
Mm-hmm.
I drink so I may speak to women.
Yeah.
Women don't want to speak to me, so I drink more, and then I fight.
Yeah.
That's pretty much every
pretty much
moment,
it.
like,
That is,
yeah.
that is the average, right? And then you have the guys that just show up to wreck shop. They just show up just to be assholes. They know they're probably not going to get laid, and they're going to get mad at the other dude who is getting laid, and then that's the guy they're going to fight.
Well, since we're on that topic, how do you think the best way is to talk to a girl at a bar or a club?
How the best way?
Yeah. What's the biggest mistake you see guys make?
Oh, well, I don't know. I've done that so many times myself. Oh my God, this is stupid thing. I thought this was I didn't know we were gonna spend another hour here. You know, honestly, sometimes I'm like, think to myself, don't talk, because the person doesn't want to talk to you. And I'm like, I guess it's more of how if you get fake contact, like some kind of contact, is a hello and hello.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have just, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Whatever. Here for the show, that kind of thing. I don't have any ability. I have no ability with I don't have a line. There's no,
Yeah.
I have nothing that's ever worked. Like, I always am generally surprised. If I end up in bed with some chick, I'm just as surprised as I'm like, oh, all right, I never expected that. I just went to a bar and here I am.
I know what you're talking about.
There is something about watching it every night where eventually you get an idea of the whole fucking dance better than the average.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things that I picked up was what not to do.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? I was like, well, definitely not doing that.
Yeah,
Definitely not
exactly.
doing that. I'm definitely not doing
I
that.
just went back to polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it always came down to, am I getting a green light? Am I getting a green light for a conversation? So I think most guys, when I'm watching, they come in for the bum rush, right?
Yeah.
They immediately come in and they're going for the bum rush, holla, 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 holla.
Yeah.
And it may not come off directly like that, but they're going for the bum rush. Whereas opposed to, look, get eye contact, that's cool. Okay, that's level one. Get a nod with eye contact, awesome. Hey, how you doing today? She talks back. Well, okay, now we can move into
Still
a
a green light.
conversation.
Yeah.
Still a green light,
Yeah.
right? And just move in a casual, organic way is what I always found
Exactly.
to be. I never had any like, hey, what's
But
up?
once you get the
girl?
red
How you
light,
doing?
once you get the red light, like nice talking to you or whatever
Yep.
like that,
Yeah.
it's when
Yeah.
those are the people that, as bouncers, you have to deal with that don't deal with the red light well.
Yes.
This
that's
is the person that you have to deal with.
That's the person.
That's a person almost every night at the bar that you have to deal with. Is the guy that didn't read the red light.
And the classic
Doesn't have
is-
any emotional intelligence.
Think about talking to the girl, think about talking to the girl, drink. Get hammered, go in,
Oh yeah.
blurb something drunkenly, and then get shot down.
Or the girl who talks to the guy who's sitting next to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that always goes well every time, and,
Yeah.
or something else that involves a girl getting into it with somebody else that the boyfriend then has to then get into the fight as well, which turns into a whole mess into itself.
Yeah, I remember one particular night that Trevor and I were working over at, I think Trevor was working at Ruby and I was just hanging out. But this girl had been sexually assaulted by one of the guys there, but she was there with her boyfriend who was a cold-blooded gangster. Do you remember that when that happened? Right? And she looked over at me and she's like, dude, this guy's been really inappropriate. Like, he just reached over and tried to touch me. I'm like, well, did you tell your man? And she's like, no, I don't want to tell him because, like, you're going to kill this dude. Right? She's like, can you please just make him leave? Can you please? I don't want to have to tell my man.
Yeah.
Right? So then I remember, like, we got him out of there, right? Like, with the quickness and stuff.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we got him out of there. That's when the dude found out, but he had already gone. But the dude was a cold-blooded gangster. And the girl was just like, look, I don't want to tell my boyfriend. Can you please? She had reached over to me when her boyfriend was doing something else. And I was like, Trevor, we got to get this dude the fuck out of here. Like, he's got to go right now. And I think that's a good portion of the job, is preventing dudes from getting killed by other dudes. They shouldn't be messing with it, right?
So I got a good one for you on that one. So I'm down in Burlingame, and I'll get to the back of this Burlingame because this was the end of my career was Burlingame. I was working at Paradise Lounge.
No,
I was the doorman at Paradise.
Taking me back here.
And I was not only loading in for shows because I was a roadie, and I had a band, and we were looking for shows when I was working there. But I got a call from this guy who owned a bar in Burlingame. He used to, it's a nightmare because you got to come down here and like stop the fighting. And he felt like that stupid movie.
Right.
Yeah, and I realized what it was. People in San Francisco who go to a bar or live in San Francisco, they're buying drinks with their own money. and they don't want to go to jail because they have to go to work, you know, and they'd rather not be in trouble when you're in a local bar in San Francisco. But people who go to bars in Burlingame don't give a crap about anything, and they've got their parents' credit card, and they're tough guys, and they're not going to have it, and and they fight like crazy. So I showed up down there with like 5 of my guys, and we like took over the place and just kind of straightened them out. But I'm standing in the back, and there was a huge WWE event in San Francisco, and 2 of the professional wrestlers were there having drinks. And these guys are like, I've never seen human beings so big in my entire life. And this guy is just talking shit to him. And the guy, this huge man, I mean, like, I am 6'2", I am 295 right now. And like this guy walks up to me who's like 7 feet tall. And he's got like, and he's just, he looks like he's been doing roids his entire life. He's just massive. And he goes, excuse me, are you the bouncer here? And I go, yeah. And he goes, this gentleman is causing me trouble. And I obviously can't just, you know, punch him in the head. And I'm like, dude, okay. He goes, if you wouldn't mind, please. Nobody was asking this. And I look over and I'm like, dude, you gotta go. I mean, this guy's gonna kill you. He wants to crush your head with his hand.
It's Will Chamberlain, bro.
That's huge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will go right over there and talk to him right now for you. I apologize. Your evening's not going as you like.
Actually chokeslam him fucking.
Oh my God, just he could have. I mean, and he's wearing the bounce. The WWE guy is wearing like a backpack on his chest. It's like a teddy bear, and like just I mean like everything about the whole thing is just so weird. You're just like, oh, how does this crap happen? And so, and then I went back on. I was back on tour. Went back on tour there, and that's. I was telling Trevor, I'll give you that. I'll give you that little bit of the story. We still have time, right?
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
Okay, cool. So when I toured, you know, being the bigger guy, I also kind of, you know, handled security, took care of my bandmates, and did all kind of stuff like that, made sure everybody was good, and did guitars and drums and worked on all that kind of stuff. And we went on tour with AC/DC. We were the opening act for AC/DC for the 1996 Ballbreaker tour across the United States. And I would be hanging out with Angus.
Well, start with how that started. Like,
okay, all right, yeah. Right, so I'm at work. I was working for a stage company in San Carlos at Stage Rigging Incorporated at the time, and AC/DC's on tour, and we're just came back from touring in Canada. We're a company that makes amplifiers for AC/DC, the internal parts of amplifiers. Endorsed us as a band and gave us amplifiers. So that's the kind of the little connection there, right? Very weird, like Kevin Bacon level connection, but you know, and so we come back to the United States, and I'm at work, and I get a call, and my buddy's like, dude, AC/DC just fired their opening act. We need to have all the gear in San Jose at Shoreline Amphitheater in an hour. And I like walked up to my boss, this guy Rocky Paulson, who's like the head of Stage Rigging Corp, the biggest concert touring overhead rigging company in the United States. And I'm like, remember when I started working for you? And I said that my band might have a big deal and I might have to walk out the door. And I go, that's right now. He goes, I'm gonna fire you. And I go, yeah, I'm gonna have to be fired. I'm okay with that. I had that coming. And so I ran to my studio, and the van was in there. And thank God, this is like almost pre-cell phone-ish. In 1996, not everybody had a cell phone. You know, and people still had pagers and stuff like that. And our bass player, you could never find him. He knew where the show was, and he would show up. But like, a guy lived in a sailboat. No phone, no nothing, you know, and he happened to be in there in the studio when I walked in. And it took me half an hour of loading band gear in a frantic pace into the van for him even to believe me, you know. And finally we get everything in the van, I like grabbed some more people, and we went there an hour and 15 minutes later.
Oh my God.
And we're at Shoreline, and this whole crew of like 30 stagehands just comes out, unloads the whole van, just runs everything out on the stage. And we get like 5 minutes to go, and then they go, okay, get off the stage, and they're like laying all this stuff down. And we go in the back room, and I have to say, because it was so frantic, no one had time to say, holy crap, we're about to play with AC/DC. It was still too much of a role.
Yeah. So, is this even real? Is this even really
real? So nobody was getting
no butterflies,
and no attitude or no ego.
Yeah.
Like the ego was low, you know. And so they play their show, and this guy walks up. His name is Opie. He's famous named Opie. He looks just like Opie Taylor, and he's the lead. He's the tour manager for the Rolling Stones, for AC/DC, Aerosmith, all that stuff. He's like the best world touring, 14 to 25 semi-truck shows. This guy handles it like nothing, right?
Wow.
So he comes up to me, he goes, 30 minutes, 15 seconds. I look at my lead singer, I'm like, okay, we're done. And he throws me the guitar. He always threw the guitar for the stage, and I'd catch it on the side of the stage. I goes, good job, thank you guys. And we get done, and he goes, all right, look, we got one more show for you in Anaheim. He goes, when we come to Anaheim, we're like, yes, we gotta go home, we're having a party at the house, and everyone's like, you're crazy. We go down to Anaheim.
How did the crowd respond to you guys?
You know what's funny? Because we weren't prepped, they were having fun. And because that first show was fun, every show after that was fun. Like and what we heard midway was that the opening acts would act like we'd be idiots or wasn't their kind of music for people who go to see AC/DC don't give one crap about the opening act. And the fact that we got applause and people were happy, like AC/DC loved it because the opening act rarely got anything but when you're done, can you get out of the way so we can see this other band? So we get a call, we come back from Anaheim and we're home back in San Carlos and just like at my buddy's house and we're having this huge party and everyone thinks we're just the coolest guys in the world. And they call, we're like, man, this other band's not working out. Can you come down to Las Vegas and finish the next 39 shows across the United States? And we did it in a half the show in a rental car. They took our band gear in a trailer. We drove behind them in a rental car, 5 of us in a rental car, drive behind them. And I'm telling the story for one better part of the story that he likes. So the best job I've ever, and I know we're not even, I'm hanging out with like Angus, every member of the staff of them has their own bodyguard. And these guys are monsters, and they're all great. They're all really good guys, and all of AC/DC are very small men. They're all smaller guys. I meet this guy. I go, so what's your gig with the band? And he goes, oh, I'm the guy that flies ahead. I go, yeah. So what? Fly ahead. He goes, well, I fly ahead, and I go to every strip club in the city that we're going to, and I find the women that I want to be at the show, and I give them backstage passes, and they are the entire front row of every concert are all the strippers from the so they do when they do the Jack and they do a whole lot of Rosie and all that, the whole front row's got their tops off and everything. And so I'm standing there looking at him and I see him stand at the back of the stage. The stage is it's like 4 stories tall. It takes 2 days to build. You get into a town and there's another set of trucks going to another city ahead of you. Building another stage, right? It's this massive castle, and the lead singer would swing out on this giant wrecking ball. It was the Ball Breaker tour, and wrecked this whole castle, come crashing down. And I see the guy, who's the go-ahead guy, and he's like below the stage, and he's got the curtain open, and I'm like, what's that guy doing? And I walk over and I look, and I'm like, and there's this entire camera rig moving back and forth under the stage. And it's got camera gear looking through a plexiglass strip. So when you see Angus Young doing his little thing when he's doing his guitar thing, well, there's also a platform on it, and these strippers are naked on it. A little girl-on-girl action going on, and the lead singer of AC/DC is on the stage going, yeah! And he's like, see what I like! This is like so good. This is so good. And it's like, I'm like, holy crap, you are a trip. This is rocking. It's the only time in my entire time touring and everything where I was like, holy crap, that's real rock and roll. Like that's just like
If you're that rich and you're that crazy, that's what you want.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. That's what I would imagine.
That's all I ever wanted.
You're not doing it in a way, right?
I'm so not that cool. Yeah, I mean, just overall, the whole 25 years of doing it, I got lucky being big. Most people don't want to get into it. Somebody's bigger. I think the guys I know they're like a little bit smaller. I tend to get more fights at bars than
They get tested.
Yeah, get tested. Most guys I don't really want to get into it with me. So I got lucky all those years with that. But
oh yeah, if I were to be the first thing, I'd be like, it's John.
Anything happens, you'd be like, well,
I'm quicker than you'd expect. Yeah. So, and I can tell you when it all ended. I can tell you the last. I've done 2 or 3 private parties, just to make sure that people weren't allowed to come in. Since then, even now where I work now, I work for a children's museum. But the funny thing is that it's 500 employees of the Exploratorium. Right, I've been the head of facilities. Well, I'm the senior manager of facilities for the exploratorium for the last 16 years. And there is no security. We have 500 employees and we have 4,500 people in the building every day. And on my radio, I have continuously, somebody will call the radio and go, I've got a problem in the lobby, I've got this, and I do the de-escalation.
Yeah.
And I've learned the de-escalation. All the years as a bouncer has taught me how to like bring it down a notch. You know?
So what's the best kids fight you've seen at the exploratorium?
Well, I had a dad pick up a kid that wasn't his and move him so that his kid could go use the thing. And the other father was much bigger than him, and they were gonna, and with kids and grandparents, they were gonna get into it. I looked at them both and I go, you know, and where I come from, anybody involved in a fight goes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you started it, what, everybody's leaving
Yeah.
tonight. Yeah, that's it. You know, and I mean, and I said, you can go to the front of the museum and you can go to the back of the museum and you can play nice, or you will have to leave. And I go, don't touch his kid. You know, this is, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, so we deal with a lot of, I deal with a lot of people who have some mental health issues and stuff like that on the street in front. We just try to keep everything calm and keep everybody smooth and moving through life. But the official end, is I was working at that bar in Burlingame, and I kicked the guy out. And this over 2 nights. The first night, we kick a guy out. He gets in his truck. He goes down the street 100 miles an hour on Burlingame Avenue, spins a U-ey, comes flying back down the street at 100 miles an hour. And we're just standing there at the door looking at him. And he comes up on the sidewalk with a truck and rams a concrete planter that I think he didn't realize was concrete, hits at full speed trying to get to us. Reverses across the street, smashes into a car across the street, comes back across the street, misses my Harley by 1.5 inches, comes up on the front entrance of the bar, we've all moved out of the way now, hits the doorway of the bar, and then a cab slams into him on purpose and tries to stop him. And the guy takes off, and they went after him, and we all just kind of like, it was one of those nights where like the bar was still open, but everyone just kind of standing there going, what's going on?
Lucky to be alive.
Next night, I kick a guy out, and he walks all the way around the entire city block so he can get behind me. And he puts one right in the side of my face, like hard. It rips open my whole cheek with a ring, and just starts uppercutting me like 30 times right in the door of the bar. And I finally got my wits about me, and I like shoved him down the street, and I gave him an uppercut, and then he hit this glass panel, and then he ran off screaming, I beat your ass, and he took off. I walked in the bar, like whole face covered in blood, and I was like, okay, I need a martini, and I need a towel, please. And I'm like, hey, I've had a black eye before. I've been nose busted. I've looked like a raccoon more times than I can tell you in life, but the owner of the club wouldn't pay the medical. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm in my 30s at this point, and I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm never again.
Is that the first major time you went sucker punched, besides the time that they grabbed his girlfriend by the throat?
I've always been, when we're kicking somebody out, somebody always gets a cheap shot in. I always think, that's what I was saying about not being situational. Every time, like getting in, when you've got that pile of people, and you slide your arm in there and like yanking the guy off, and you pull him out, and then you're coming back in and getting more, and your other people are getting the people, and a couple guys get you a couple shots in the face, or you're like, dude, you gotta go, and then like the guy just socks you, and I'm like, I should have saw that coming 10 times over. I got a pretty good sized head, so it's a lot of area to,
But you're a big guy, and you're a nice guy, so you're trying to get him out, and you're not really trying to use your strength as much as you can, so that just leaves opening where people can land things on you.
And I really think that people need to spend a little more time thinking about where their hands are. Like, I've got my hands in my pocket or something like that. Hey guys, you gotta get out of here. But no, and I did a pretty good job all those years. Like, I think I did a real good job of just being like, dude, and it's funny, I know, I've learned where the repetitive frustration where you're at your like 30th fake ID, and you're just like, what is this crap? F out of here. Why are you being such a jerk? It's like, because you're not the first. You know what I mean? You're like,
I've heard this thousands of times.
When I see cops that are mad, I'm like, maybe I get that a little bit.
You're not dealing with the greatest people in the world.
Or Europeans with their no driver's driver's license, there are no picture driver's
It's
license.
not AC/DC with the one-ass strippers.
I've definitely had some fantastic moments in life. Yeah. And, it was great, that band I toured with, we toured a long time, we played with Social Distortion and
What was the name of that band?
Alley Boys out of San Francisco.
Alley Boys, okay.
Yeah. And it started out as a 3-piece rockabilly band. Used to open for comedy shows, and then they became a 4-piece rock and roll band. They toured a lot with Social Distortion, Manic Hispanic, Cadillac Tramps, and
Social Distortion, big one.
the singer, my buddy Billy, who owns the McMillan Electric. He's Mike Ness's the godfather of his brother's kids.
Are they from out here? Social Distortion?
No, they're LA. They're basically Costa Mesa and stuff like that. They're down there.
Yeah, he got all drugged out for a minute, right? Like, and then
Oh yeah.
brought it back.
Oh yeah, brought it all back. Like he's still rolling along pretty good.
Yeah, one of the points you made, you said that, it is a bit easier as a bigger guy doing door. So even when you first started off, when you were young, you were already 6'2", you said 275?
I was 280,
So you've always been pretty much
Yeah,
the size, you've already been the size you are
And
now.
I was when I was in high school, I was an athlete for a beer and pizza came along. I was in good shape, so.
And you do get tested a lot. So I know being more of a medium-sized guy, I'm 6', 200 pounds, and I would definitely get tested more than the larger guys would doing door.
And it's and people are interesting. You never know which way they're going to go for anything.
You never know.
Yeah, you can pick them, and bars, and it depends on the bar too. Like I think some bars just bring it out of people. I don't know how to, I don't know whether it's the music or
That's true.
Yeah.
Part of it is the music, the location, what's around it.
The drugs and
The drugs, the people that are there.
So
right, who comes in.
I work sometimes on Sundays. I work for Treat Street. It's 24th and Treat in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And that bar was like where you went to get murdered. And then the guy who owned it, this guy Fra and Jay Kepler, these two brothers, they took it over and they like closed the doors, power washed it, made it look like a lounge inside, and then it became a different place.
Yeah.
And people were coming to an area in the Mission where people never went to an area in the Mission. They didn't really have too many problems. I mean, when the president of Los Angeles was burned in front of that, right in front of that, so that's when that place closed. They closed because of that, and it became another bar. But
And if they're murdering the president of the Hells Angels, it's a serious business in front of
it was somebody else's business that happened to happen in front of the club.
Yeah, but still,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
That was a
saying?
big deal when it
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a big deal.
Yeah. That would have been the last time I showed up. If they murdered Hells Angels, what they gonna want me to show up?
Yeah, I don't need to be here.
If they murdered him, what they gonna do to me?
But it was a bar. It was a bar though.
with him or whatever it was.
It was a bar though. On like a Saturday night, kind of like 11 o'clock, somebody would back a Harley or something in the door of the club and just burn out, smoke the place out, and that kind of thing. It was a good bar. Good bar. Oh, and then to that too, I forgot. I went to college in Atlanta. And I worked in Buckhead for the years I went to college there too. So that was great. This dude used to pull up in a Cadillac, and he'd back the Cadillac up to the door, and he'd get out, and he had the gas tank for the Cadillac was in the passenger seat. And he'd open the trunk, and there was a full barbecue grill in there, and he had bags of charcoal in there. He'd start to charcoal up, and he'd cook food all night long in the back of his Cadillac.
Wow.
And then and serve all the people walking out of the bar. Nobody cared. Everybody here, if you bring your own pool cue to a bar, you're a hustler. If you don't have your own pool cue in Atlanta, you're a hustler. Because everybody has their own pool cue, and every bar had a pool table. And in that places, they'd have a girl who would brush the table, rack the balls for $2.
Oh, wow.
And you'd have that. Two of the bars I worked at were pretty like fancy like that. Had like 6 tables going, 6 girls working them. They'd always have a private room. I always thought it was kind of cool that we'd have a doorman or another to a separate bar that was for higher people that could pay more for it, something like that. And I also noticed too, is the East Coast, is the bars are huge. Like they have like volleyball courts, like crazy stuff like that. Yeah, like there's a lot of the bars like the South and then like in Georgia are massive. And they've got like 30, 40 people working.
They got levels, they got floors, levels, all kinds of stuff.
The only bars I hit in Atlanta were in Decatur.
Okay.
That's the area that I explored.
I was downtown Atlanta. And we'd go to, so bars are normally open to about 4.
Yeah.
And there are a few bars in Atlanta that are open 24 hours a day, and have been open 24 hours a day forever. And just grandfathered in, and they can never close or they'll lose their 24-hour thing. And there's a bar called Backstreets. It was a 4-story gay bar next to a place called King's, still straight after all these years, River Bar. And every bouncer in the city, but the gay club was 24 hours. So every bouncer in Atlanta, come 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, you're like, okay, we're gonna need to go get a beer, or we're gonna go to Backstreet. So you go, and then what it was is, you'd get in the elevator, and depending on how high you were, it was more friendly. And the lower you'd go, it was more leather, crazy. I mean, if you went to the basement, you're not coming. I don't know how you get out. But the upstairs is like by 4 o'clock in the morning, all waitresses and bouncers and stuff in the city getting drinks and hanging out. And then as soon as the sun cracked, the guy on the microphone would get on, and they do drag racing in the parking lot. And I don't mean cars. So they'd have the lights and the microphone, and they have like Rube Hall did it once, and they'd have running races in the parking lot in high heels and dresses, and you'd all stand, everyone stand up, all these bouncers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was. I worked at Club Berlin in Atlanta. That was
Wow.
and that bar there, they serve you drinks while you're waiting in line.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, that bouncer guy would roll along with the cups and a keg and pour you beers while you're waiting to get in.
Very smart.
Yeah. That's way better than out here where the bouncer sees you drinking beer in line and then doesn't let you in the club.
I just heard they're do entertainment zones in San Francisco starting at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're gonna do 5 entertainment areas in San Francisco.
I'm
It's
so
gonna
glad
be-
I'm not working out
Oh
there.
my God.
Can you imagine having to work till 4 and then get home at fucking
Dude, I get home at 7:30 now. I'm like, oh. It's not like I could go home from, when I get home from the gym, like, oh, you speak to me.
I'm ready to go to bed. It's 8 o'clock, 8:30. Yeah, fill it up.
All right, I don't think I missed anything. What do you think?
No, man, thank you so much for coming out, man. Much appreciated.
Yeah, awesome.
Good. That was fun.
Did I ever tell you a story about Norton going to the Aero Bar for the first time?
No.
Which was in fucking the Tenderloin, but like the guy made it a club.
Yeah.
And he goes out there with a bunch of the guys. I wasn't there that night, but like the first time in there, and this fucking dude jumps up on the bar. He's like, "Oh, you fucking rats! I love you guys. Let me buy you guys around." I'm like, "Want some shots?" Like, "Yeah." So he pours a bunch of shots, and then everybody downs them, and then he's like, "Yeah." And he takes it, and he throws it to the fireplace. It's like, "Guys, want another round?" I'm like, "Sure." And then lines them up, pours them, they all do them. He throws it to the fireplace. Everybody's like, "Whatever room," you know? Right. The door guy runs over, grabs the dude, fucking drags him out, hucks him into the street, and he comes back over to Norton, and he's like, "Norton, I'm sorry, man, we really thought he fucking worked here. We thought he was the owner. We thought he was the owner." He's like, "Oh yeah, he's the owner." He just gets out of line and I'm out of here.
Oh my God.
That's great.